All right, everybody. It is Garrett from Third Gen Aquatics, and we are back with.
Pops, also from Third Gen Aquatics. Last go around, you were the guest at my house, and I am now the
Yes.
guest at your house.
Yeah,
You know, sitting here in front of your gorgeous 125, which has been the backdrop of several of your videos.
definitely.
These guys are always very active. I love coming down and seeing here.
Well, thanks.
Seeing
Appreciate
how
that.
I love this guy. If there's any way anybody could identify that guy, we haven't been able to
Yeah,
figure out what he is, but there's another little one in here as well.
which I'll definitely get some shots of them more
Yeah,
specifically.
yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm very intrigued by him.
Which I personally, well, you and I have talked, and we think that he's some sort of hat mix, or
Yeah,
or
there's a
right around
possibility
there
that
possibly.
he's a hybrid of some sort. I don't know that there was haps in here previously, so I don't know if that would have been something that came out of it.
Right.
But he's definitely, uh,
Has the elongated face
yeah,
and
he's quite
the
a bit
different.
different than the rest. So hopefully we can figure it out. But
That'd be neat.
he's one of those ones that intrigues me a bit with
Definitely.
that.
Definitely.
So today's subject, we wanted to talk a little bit about like the aquarium hobby can be very expensive.
Yep.
I mean, if you're gonna do top tier stuff
And especially even just starting out. Like
right and
it's
brand new stuff, I
yep,
mean, you're talking like it's a lot.
it is.
So I mean, I've sourced almost all of my stuff secondhand. I
Yep,
believe you have as well,
most of it. Yeah.
and there's a cost savings involved in that.
Yep.
But some of the other ones we wanted to touch on that we've utilized was the black diamond blasting sand, which I mentioned in my last
Yep.
at the video at my house.
Yep.
Was it's so economical. I think it was like $12 or $15
Yeah,
for
there
a
was like
50-pound
14.
bag.
Yeah, 14
You know,
something at
whatever it
Tractor
was.
Supply. So if you people are
Yes.
wondering, we went to our local Tractor Supply, um, and I don't know anywhere else. I know, but just probably say Tractor Supply maybe from what I'm aware of.
I think I may have seen it somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was like I was searching around online and it came
Yeah.
up or what it was, but I know I did see it somewhere else. But there's two different versions too. So
Right.
there's a red bag.
Yep.
The red bag is the much larger granulars
Yes.
than these are, and then the black bag is the one that has the right size.
Fine sifted.
Yeah. So it's the right millimeter size for it's a more of a sandy
Right.
consistency.
And for specifically what we keep, or at least
Yeah.
more specifically for what I keep as of right now, because you have obviously, as you guys have finally seen, well, so far, gotten
Yeah.
to a touch of a variety of different things.
Yep.
So, and
But I think for the most part, most of my tanks are the blasting sand.
I was going to say that's what all of mine are.
I have I have I have the axolotl tank,
Yep.
which is the Carib Sea Sunset Gold.
Which is for people who don't know. We're not going to talk too much about it, but axolotls are very specific. Their requirements are a lot. So if you do have the interest and say, "Hey, I want to get an axolotl," please do the research before you get something.
Absolutely.
Please do the research.
A lot of people do bare bottoms on those too, because then there's less chance for some sort of impaction for
Right.
their stomachs and
Right.
things as they're eating things and
Yep.
stuff like that. I've never had a bare bottom tank. I don't like the look of it.
I don't either. I just have mine set up the way the time being type
No,
of thing. But
I can
definitely
understand that
agree.
like quarantine
Right.
tank stuff, but actually no, I do. I have two quarantine tanks, and both of those are bare bottom as well.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I don't like it. Some people do.
Yeah.
They really do like it. I don't.
Yeah, it's
I
not.
like substrate. I like having stuff in there.
Yep.
Even tanks that aren't like really show tanks, I still like to do up nice because that's kind of important for me.
Yeah.
And it's another part of the fun of the hobby. The chance to go in and change stuff up, move stuff around, and like you did with your 75-gallon in one of your
Yep.
other videos,
I did.
where you had the lighter sand or rock. I think it was gravel.
Yeah, it was like the nasty river
Yeah,
gravel.
and this one had originally like a white rock gravel
that was
base to
also
it as well.
not good looking. Yeah.
And the colors just wash out in the fish. So
Yeah.
substrate can make a huge difference. I personally have the rainbow cichlid Sylvie.
Yep.
She I moved her into a new setup.
Mhm.
Future videos to come for that, right? New setup with the Carib Sea Sunset Gold
Okay.
in it as well, and and she went from like that darker colored. She was significantly darker, like
Yeah. Like a
dark
really deep
brown, kind of like a
yellowish.
chocolatey kind of look.
Yeah.
And now she went to a more vibrant yellow. Her colors are showing more. Her bars are showing more. Her eyes are popping more. Like she is better on the light substrate.
Right.
Whereas, like my Jack Dempsey
Yep.
really pops in color on the dark substrate.
Right.
Now, we'll have, we'll see in future videos again, how things are going to
Yeah.
play out with the changes in the substrate bases and things too. But as far as cost effectiveness, to fill this tank with the sand from like Carib Sea or any of the other like big brand
Yeah.
gravel or sand,
Total
oh my
price
goodness,
difference.
you're talking a couple $100s.
I think probably to do this tank, got I could have went more, but I believe it was 4 bags, 4 or 5 bags.
I think 4 or 5. I think that's kind of where I was with things too on
I,
my 125s.
right.
I think I was right around 4 bags.
Okay.
Now mine don't do all of this as
Yeah.
much as yours do.
Yeah, mine like to redecorate.
These maniacs here. I think, and half of that is the convicts.
There they go. Yeah, they're doing it right now. Yep.
The convicts always constantly digging out spaces and things as well. But which I don't keep convicts, so that wasn't a thing for me.
As much as that does drive me nuts, it is kind of funny to see what they do every night.
They've rearranged the tank again, which
completely.
Again, cichlids can, and they do. Excuse me.
But yeah. So now that we kind of touched on that, another thing that I definitely recommend, I know he does the same thing, is going to your local quarry and finding stone. A lot of any really, I wouldn't say any.
Like landscape store.
Yes, landscape. Yes.
We do have one that is it's more of it's a wholesale
quarry type
concrete
of thing.
facility.
Right.
And Standard Concrete is the name of it.
Yeah.
If you're in the York area, you would know what that is.
Right.
So, more of a landscaping supply store, concrete supply store, that kind of thing. But they have
all like this.
Right.
I spent, I think it was $50 to do this whole entire, and I still have a bunch of rocks left over. Some of those rocks are actually even in my other tanks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I definitely would recommend doing it that way. I think it was, for all these rocks, I think I paid $7 or something. I think something like that.
Yeah, I got a 5-gallon bucket, which they correlate that to being 50 pounds, and I want to say it was like $7 and some change for 100 pounds.
Yeah.
So I only paid $3.08.
Yeah. Yep.
$3.08, and I probably got, I don't know, 10, 12 like good sized rocks.
Bigger than the centerpiece rocks. Well, yeah, probably a bit.
This guy here is pretty big, but all the ones underneath, yeah. I got larger rocks than that.
Yeah.
For $3 and some change, and I was like, I kind of felt bad even charging the card for it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is it might not even be worth it for them to do that. Now the next time I went back, I did get some more, and I got some large slate rock for some of my wife's other backyard plans and things that we're going to showcase the pond at some point too. So that's been a work in progress.
He's just throwing it all out there
for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, once we get around to all that stuff, it'll be great, series we'll run with that too. But these rocks and the cost of these rocks it's phenomenal. You just can't beat.
You can't beat them.
I went to the local fish store, and I like supporting the local fish store, and you should too, for a lot of things.
Yep.
But my God, I went and got 2 rocks, 2 that were probably
big,
this big,
not that
for my 40-gallon breeder.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it was like $47 for 2 rocks. And I was like, I never again will I do that. That is
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Now there's some specialized rocks like the elephant skin rocks, and like you're typically not going to find Sirius stone or dragon stone or some of those specialty stones and things in a landscaping quarry kind of a situation. But you'll find river rock, and river rock is phenomenal for this. Stay away from like sandstone because
Yeah.
it's gritty; it'll fall
Right.
apart. But these river rocks have been in the water. They're there's nothing to leach
Basically,
out
what
of
they're
them
there
anymore. They're good to
exactly.
go.
Yeah.
You throw them right in. Well, rinse them off, soak them a little bit.
Always, yeah, definitely. Whenever
Yeah.
you get stuff like that, all I ever do. Now this is me. I'll just take some of my tank water and 5 10 gallon bucket, fill it halfway up, stick the rock in, get a sponge or a couple paper towels, toothbrush, whatever's old, or not an old toothbrush, new toothbrush with no toothpaste on it, and scrub everything down real well. That's what I've done, and
Yep.
obviously you're gonna have some cloudy water. That's to be expected. I think mine was cloudy for about an hour. Again, is to be expected. And this tank was disgusting when I first got it.
That's true. Yes, it
Yeah.
was in rough shape. Now we did. Typically, I'll hose mine off outside, depending on how cruddy they really are. But I'll hose them off outside with regular hose water.
Yeah.
Then I will take them inside and I will put tank water in a
Yep.
5 gallon bucket and I'll soak them in that.
Yep.
And kind of give them a good scrub over before putting them in.
Right.
So it does kind of help with like charging them up a little bit with some of that beneficial bacteria. Yep. There's not going to be any residual leftover like chlorine or chloramine or any of the things that are harmful for the fish. And then start your scape.
And for the people who are just getting into the fish hobby, you're saying, "Hey, I want to get into the fish hobby." With us talking about this stuff and the way this tank was before, which if I have a picture or video, I will throw that up here compared to what it is now. And I believe to do all of this, escaping the plants, everything, I believe I probably only spent maybe $200. And that's between sand, it's between live and fake plants. Live plants with cichlids, don't do that. I don't know how they left mine on, but they have for the one live one that I do have. But it's there's ways that you can do things cheaper rather than just going and buying everything in bulk at a fish store because it's all in one place. If you can avoid doing that, I would 100% avoid doing it.
And I did want to touch on one more thing
Yeah.
for like a pro tip, right? So pro tip on if you're going to put large real rocks in your tank,
Yep.
Layer the bottom
Yes.
with
Yes.
the egg crates, or they call them egg crates, but
Yes.
they're more like it's a plastic diffuser material for like lights. Well, yeah, here's a piece here. So this material is plastic, polyplastic. It's not harmful for anything. It's inert, so it's not going to affect anything. But put that stuff down first.
Yes.
Then put your sand substrate over top. Then put your rocks. Or you can put some of your rocks and then your sand substrate. So that everything's kind of like leveled out. But if a rock falls and hits your bottom pane of glass, you are
screwed.
Yeah, that's the end of that. I mean, you're talking fish, substrate, rocks, water, everything's out of it. If it busts the bottom open. So best thing you could do is layer that down first.
And I never even thought to touch on that. So that's really smart that you thought about that.
Yeah, well, the fish helped because they cleared out this entire corner.
Thanks,
and I was looking at it.
Thanks.
I'm like, oh, that's right. That'd be a good thing to touch on too here is, again, pro tip. I mean, I've seen several tanks on Facebook Marketplace and online where they're like, oh, busted bottom glass.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, I probably know what happened there.
Yep.
And these guys that dig, you can see it's all over the place. They're digging all over the place.
Yep.
If they dig out underneath a piece of rock and it comes tumbling over, it's going to hit glass.
Yep.
Somewhere, somehow, some way, it's going to hit glass.
And you don't have to do that with every single tank. It's more of a species and size, depending. If you have fish that, at least in my opinion, if you have fish that or fish that are said to move a bunch of substrate or said to move a bunch of things around, I would instantly do this. Any fish that's going to get size, like Oscars, obviously my peacocks, they're not huge, but they are pretty good size. And depending on the way things are stacked or whatever over time, things could settle, things could adjust, and it's just an all-around smarter thing. So I'm definitely glad that you said about that.
Yeah, I think I have 2 tanks that I did early on where I didn't know about that yet.
Yeah.
And I don't remember where I learned that from. So another fish channel I think I was watching, and I was like, oh my God, yes, I need to do that.
Yep.
And so from that point forward, all of them that I've done have been like that.
Right.
because some of the Africans don't mess around with it as much as others do. Some of the Central Americans and South American cichlids, some of them do, some of them don't, mess around with the substrate. But if you're going to change stocking,
Yes.
right, you're going to change the fish out, you do something else, do something different. Now you'd have to tear it all the
All
way back
down.
down, tear
Yep.
everything out of it to put that egg crate stuff
Yep.
back in, that light diffuser material back in.
Yep.
And just save yourself the trouble. It's not that expensive.
No, it's
You
not.
get a sheet of it, you cut it down, throw it in there
Measure your
first.
tank out first, obviously. Always
Yeah.
measure your tank, know your dimensions and stuff like that.
Yep.
And the way we did it, or the way I cut it, is all I use what I had, and I believe I had garden snippers that actually had it work. And it wasn't the best way to do it, but I trimmed them down and made sure that there wasn't any sharp edges that the fins could get caught on or anything like that.
Yeah, I think I tried numerous different ways. I tried like a cutoff wheel. There's a little tool that has a little metal. It's like a little metal cutoff wheel,
Yeah.
and like that did a decent job, but it kind of just more so melted through the plastic stuff.
Right.
Oh, excuse me. So that wasn't that great. I did do side cutter
Yeah.
snips,
Yep.
and that did a really good job. But it always kind of left that, like, if you ever taken a zip tie and want a zip tie
Yep.
off, you're going to cut yourself on that because that
Yep.
thing is like really sharp.
And that's another good thing too. Think to yourself, if I cut myself on this, a fish probably can too.
Yep.
So it's, and if you, all your fish will have slime coats. You do not want to damage, break a slime coat.
All right. That's what protects them from any kind of infections and things.
Yes.
So
Yep.
yeah, so we touched on that. Again, pro tip for that. That's a great thing to have. Another great thing with the rocks is a lot of times you can choose your colorings too. If you go through and you can pick through some of the rocks that you have, here's one that has, hi guy, this one has red,
Yep.
like rust color on the top and then white on the bottom. Now I love that style stone.
I do too.
And I did a lot of that style stone in my new tank build
Yep.
recently. And then you can get the different sizes of things as well.
Yeah.
There's another one over here that has like marbling in it. So each layer that goes through has different tones of the rock to it as well. And I love that too. I love the variegated look. I love the veining and like some of the stone. I have some serious stone that has that in it. And I do like that quite a bit. I did find one, this is my last go around.
Yeah.
I found a black stone with white veining in it.
That's cool.
And
I bet that was cool.
It is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's the only one I could find. So
right.
It's the only one. It stands alone by itself in the tank, but it looks really, really good. I'm really happy that I found that one.
And I think too that's a lot of people worry about the expense of having a tank that actually looks good. How do I make a tank look good? I feel like, again, for my personal opinion and for the way I like my things, I think this looks great. I think I love the different colors of the rocks. I love the formations, how everything kind of caves in and out, and the fish can swim in and out of different size caves, and it'll lead to different things. And that's how this is over here. A convict's hide, obviously underneath it, have this all dug out so they can hide. Everything's hungry right now, but that's definitely, again, another cheap way to do things. And
I do love the pops of green too.
Yeah.
Like against the black too.
Yeah.
The black substrate. If you do end up redoing this and you do a black background across it too.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's the goal.
But the green, the pop of that vibrant green.
Yeah.
And so we were going to go into the fake plants thing, right?
Yep.
And I don't do fake plants in my stuff. It's either I can keep plants or I can't. And I don't try and force the issue because plants can be expensive.
Yep.
And you can have, quite a few $100s wrapped up in plants.
Oh yeah, plants
that the little suckers are just going to eat.
Yep.
They're going to eat it. They're going to tear it all apart, or some of them rip them out and let them just float away,
around. Yeah.
And every time you come back down, you're replanting another plant, and it's just that's not good for the plant and your aggravation every time you come back down and do it.
And the fish, not that it's bad for the fish. My hands are always in when I'm doing things, but the less you're rearranging stuff constantly or constantly sticking your hands, that your fish won't like that too much. It'll stress them out. They like consistency for the most part.
Yeah, and when the substrate and stuff gets kicked up and moved around, it releases all that anaerobic bacteria that's built up inside the substrate.
The substrates.
And that can be harmful if the fish are in the direct contact of that
Yes.
anaerobic bacteria.
If it bubbles up like a pocket of air,
Yes.
and a fish is, let's just, I'm not gonna say right on top of it, but within that general vicinity, pretty near, pretty close to it, it can cause harm to the
Yeah,
fish.
it can. So I'm always trying to be cautious with that as well. You know, if they're doing it themselves, there's nothing you can do about that. That's just what they're going to do.
Yeah,
Um, but you know, on the fake plants thing, again, when you look at this stuff on the videos, it looks good.
it
You
does.
know, I've watched our
Yeah,
videos back or the ones
yeah,
you've done here, and I'm like, actually, that looks really nice.
mhm,
You know, for being fake,
yeah,
fake plants, it does looks
yeah.
pretty decent. And if you can get good quality, and I know there was another one that was talking about like silk based plants that he used
Yes.
in his. He used
Yep.
higher end silk plants, and they have a lot more of that flowiness to them, a lot more of that natural look.
Natural. Yeah.
And they'll get grungy and dirty, and it'll get like that black algae and stuff on them. You've got to pull them out and
Just
scrape it
maintenance,
off.
regular maintenance, but
Yeah,
it's still the hassle sometimes of
yep,
having to go through that.
yeah. So again, you can actually save yourself a lot of money there too
Yep.
by getting the fake plants. It's going to be that upfront cost,
Yep.
but you're not replacing it over and over and over. And
Yeah.
then something changes in your parameters, or the the plant that was thriving in the store, or thriving in a swap meet situation. You get to your tank and it just withers away to
Looks like,
nothing, and
yeah.
you're like, okay,
Yep.
that was a waste.
And and I think a lot of that again just kind of depends on stocking. What you have in your tank at said time. I personally, I like the look of everything planted wise, even if it's fake or not, because I know, hey, you know, once a month, once every other month, I'll pull these bad boys out, clean them real good, throw them back in if I have to. If I see
Yep.
something's damaged, you know what? I'd rather spend, you know, probably 12, 14, 16 bucks, depending on size wise of everything, once every 6 or so months, once every year or so, rather than have to be, oh, okay, well, they ate that plant. That's the third time, in
Yeah,
a
third time
three
this
week
week.
period. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
And again, for
yeah,
herbivores, which they typically a lot of
yes.
your Lake Malawi cichlids are,
Yep.
then that's, hey, you're feeding me a treat. You're
Exactly.
dropping this in here. This is my
Exactly.
food. Heck yeah, I'm gonna take this.
And that's
And they
even
do.
with like my guppy grass and whatever else I have, like for my fiance's beta tank. I'll take some of the stuff out of there if it gets too bad. I'll drop it in here, and obviously, you don't see any of it floating around in here
Yeah, no,
because,
they take care of
yeah, they eat
that.
it.
Yep. So I wanted to talk about with like cleaning stuff.
Yes.
So you're doing your regular weekly water changes, your maybe bi-weekly scrub downs or
Yep.
cleanings, or depending on daily sometimes if it's a lot of algae buildup or
Yeah.
whatever to it.
Yep. I will
But
stop you here for 1 second. I
yeah,
know in a previous video I did say weekly water changes every single week. I don't care what anybody else says. I'm gonna rephrase that. I prefer to do weekly water changes. That is what works best for me. Depending on your tanks, depending on the tank situation, sometimes you might have to do it less or more, just depending on your situation. But my point of what I was trying to say is water changes are definitely a huge part of having a healthy fish tank.
it is. It's a necessity, and and I abide by that rule as well.
Yeah.
I do weekly water changes
Yep.
every week,
Yep.
and they're usually 30% or so water change on my
Mm-hmm.
tanks, and I have some that are slightly overstocked, and and those get a little bit like closer to a 50% water change. But and it's all depending on your stocking and the type
Exactly.
of fish, and like Oscars are a lot more
Mm-hmm.
filthy of an eater than
Eaters. Yep.
some of these other guys. And typically in an African tank, you're going to have it overstocked to mitigate some of the aggression.
Right.
So you could have a lot more, and it depends on your filtration too. You could have something like I have a tank now that has one fish in it. Now he's a big boy,
You rolled his eyes when you
right?
said it.
He's a big boy, but that tank is over filtered, like hugely over filtered, and it probably would need a water change every other week.
90 gallon.
No, the 75.
Okay.
After some of the movements have happened,
Gotcha.
recently the change went to the. I do have a little video of him too. Um, the Geophagus brasiliensis,
Okay.
who I got. He is a Geophagus series or species. He does sand sift. He is a just gorgeous fish. I mean,
Yeah.
beautiful specimen
Yeah.
of a fish. But he is an ass and gets along with nobody else.
Yeah.
So he's in a tank by himself currently. And that tank did have a bunch of stocking that I was growing out to go into my larger tanks. Those were all sitting in there along with my wild caught Acara.
Yep.
So as I could grow those guys out as well. And so I had heavy filtration on that.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then I ended up moving some stuff around with some of the future videos. Subscribe here.
Get notification.
Yeah, notification bell, right?
Notifications. Yeah.
Big things coming. Tease, tease,
And
tease.
we're not talking like. Notice how he said big things and not big thing, because there's a lot that this guy
There's,
currently has going on.
there's
So
always a lot going on.
you
It
guys don't
seems.
want to miss that at all.
So yeah, so he's over filtered, and in that case, it's a case by case situation.
Yeah.
I would normally have been doing a weekly water change on that anyway because I had the Oscar in
Yep.
there. I had, the wild caught Acara in there. I
Mm.
had a blood parrot. I had a lot of stocking in that facility in that tank, so I had a lot of filtration on it, and it did. That was a filthy tank. I mean,
Yeah.
those fish just. I mean, there was always stuff all over the place. So
Yeah. Yeah. That definitely was a huge topic that I think that we do need to touch on, like you were getting into
yeah, so the
about.
cleaning thing, I was
Yeah.
thinking too, like one of the things that I had learned and has done really, really well for me too is I've used a stainless steel razor blade and I've scraped the glass down because I've had a lot of algae issues and the
Yep.
lights and things being on and especially if you're growing plants and so we have like real plants up top,
Yep.
house plants and
Yep.
pothos and um, peace lilies and a bunch of different types of plants that you can grow monstera if you ever have the space to do that.
Yes. That's cool. I've seen
They're
people. Yeah.
wild and I
They
love
are
it.
cool.
I just don't have the space,
Yeah.
above my tanks to be able to do
Yeah.
a monstera out of it. So we just, with that, and you're running a grow light. That grow light's also helping the bacteria or
Hmm.
the algae grow too.
Hmm.
So
And obviously, these lights are not on all day long. This light, this big light here, the one that runs across,
they think you're feeding them.
no, not at the moment. These are only on for show, if you will, for display. But if I ever have people down here, videos, if I'm down here and want to have a nice view of the fish, but even still, with just this light back in the back that's over the hang-on back filters, it's more than enough light. And that light's only on during the day, so it's pitch black down here at night. No lights are on down here specifically for me at night.
Yeah, you don't seem to have too much trouble with the algae.
Mm-mm.
I have a couple tanks that have like diatopic algae,
Mm-hmm.
the brown stuff that kind of accumulates a lot on there. And
Yeah,
from what I understand, it's something to do with like phosphates or something
and the water.
going on with it. But I mean, it scrapes off easily enough.
Right.
Even some of the green algae that goes on the glass.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I use a razor blade and scrape it off.
Mm-hmm.
But I did come across, and this has to be very specific, is the Magic Clean scrubbing pads.
Yes.
So it's some sort of a poly something or other um, membrane material, but you have to make sure you get the stuff that has no cleaners in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've ordered mine on Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
and I shared the link
Yep.
with you guys as well.
Yep.
And we might be able to even do something with it on this video, editing team. So that stuff is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
These little sponges, I don't know how it is they do it, but you can run that thing on inside. And the greatest thing about those is it'll get all the algae off,
Yep.
the diatopic algae, the green algae.
All the nasty.
If you scrape hard enough,
Mm.
it'll tear off the blackbeard algae, which is like some of the hardest stuff to try and get rid of in general. But the greatest thing about it is you can rub it right over top of your silicone corners.
Yep.
Because the algae will grow on the silicone too.
Yep.
And you can't scrape that off. You're going to scrape into your silicone seal. So
Which I'd never want to do that.
yeah, no,
never.
I stay away from that as much as I can.
Yeah.
But these are amazing, right? You just
Yep.
run those suckers in there up and down a couple times. You got to rub it pretty decent force,
Yeah.
but cleans it right up.
Yep.
You know, again, another great tip for that. But there's the Mr. Clean Magic Erasers.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
I'll put a big X, or whoever's editing will put a big old X.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, no.
Those have cleaners built into them. So you don't want to have anything to do with those. You have to make sure you get the ones that do not have any cleaners. They're just the material itself. Yep. I forget exactly what the material is.
If one of us will find this link, and I'm sure whoever's editing this video will throw it up right in here somewhere.
Yeah, that'll work.
So
that's a direct link then to the specific stuff that we use, and it's like I think it's like a 36 pack or a 48 pack or something for fairly cheap.
Yeah,
and you know you use them up. They kind of wear away as they're cleaning, and you just throw them away when you're done.
Yep,
they're a great add-in to your weekly or so routine of cleaning and keeping your stuff pristine.
Yep. But yeah, so I think that's all.
Yeah,
we were going to touch on in this video. Again, we will be back over at his place.
Yeah, for some updates. You know,
updates. New to you guys, not so new to me. So that's why being behind the scenes here is great. But, yeah. So that being said, thank you, Pops, for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. Love being here.
Hey, every time.
And everybody else can join us on the next one.
Yes.
All right.
Join us.
Look forward to it.
See you guys.